You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast, episode 26.
You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast, the number one resource for growing your function musician business. If you're a solo wedding singer, part of a 12-piece luxury show band, or anything in between, and want to learn from other successful musicians, you're in the right place.
You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast. I am your host, Jack Twiner, and if this is your first time listening, then welcome. If you're a regular listener, then welcome back. This podcast is for function musicians who are looking to grow their business, book more gigs, hear some inspiring stories, and generally just learn from others who've been doing it successfully for years. And man, I've got a super exciting episode for you today. I'm going to be chatting to Charity Eden, who is a Texas-based singer who has created a Taylor Swift Eras Tour tribute and managed to go from her first solo gig to having a team of 8 people being flown out to Japan to play for 20,000 people. And she's managed to do it all in the space of 10 months, which is just wild. But before we get into that, I'm going to just shamelessly plug myself again because, well, this is my podcast and I can. So if you've been listening a while, you'll know that my business, In Focus Recording Company, we create amazing show reels for function musicians. And again, if you've been listening for a while, you'll know how insanely important it is to have good promo to grow your business and stand out. But that's just one part of the puzzle, and I've decided to expand my business, and we can now offer you logo design, branding, websites, all things like that. So all of these things are essential if you want to look professional, stand out, and start getting the types of gigs that you actually can make a decent living from. So if you're interested in any of that, you can find out more on my website, which is www.infocusrecordingcompany.co.uk, or you can just pop me a message on Instagram, which is at infocusrecordingco. Yeah, that's it. That's enough of me shamelessly advertising myself. Let's get into the episode. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Charity Eden. You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast, and on today's episode, I'm joined by Charity Eden. Charity is a Texas-based musician known for alluring her audience with her charisma and powerfully expressive vocal style. Inspired by artists like Adele, Paramore, and Taylor Swift, her sound has been shaped by music that not only makes her listener feel good, but can take you to another place. Charity is also the creator and band leader of Lover, the Taylor Swift tribute band who perform the Eras Tour experience all over Texas and beyond. Charity, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me.
So I first came across you on Instagram, on your tribute Instagram, where I saw one of your showreel videos, which grabbed my attention firstly because I am a big Taylor Swift fan, but also because it was just like a super high quality video, looked great, loved the work that went into it. So I've been following you since then. And then I saw a post that you put out about all the work that's gone into it and all the things that you've had to learn and the process and stuff, and I thought that would be a great episode. I have to have you on. So that's pretty much why we're here today. But first of all, I like to kick things off with going back and learning a little bit more about you and where you started and the journey that's brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, awesome. I'm Charity, and I for most of my life actually only did music in the church. I grew up singing in the church. My dad was a pastor. And I sang in choir, and I led worship, played guitar, played piano, and almost entirely up until like 3 years ago, till about when I was 30, I listened to exclusively Christian music and worship music only.
Yeah.
And, I'd heard different stuff. I'd helped at weddings and done little things here and there. I didn't really listen to any like pop radio or anything. And so it was actually when Taylor Swift's album Midnights came out. That was one of the first exclusively Christian or like a Christian artist that makes pop music. The first actual full album that I really dove into.
Yeah.
Which is insane. And it kind of literally changed my life. But I went to school for music. I went to North Texas, here in Denton, and studied voice and got my at least theory skills, but just a lot of musician networking there for sure. And I was on staff at a church for a really long time. But yeah, once I heard this album, literally changed my life. I started doing like cover song gigs where I would just sit at a bar restaurant for like 3 hours, and just literally I used these gigs as me trying to learn more secular songs that I should know. So yeah, I would do a lot of, I don't know, a lot of pop stuff like Ed Sheeran, but also country things like Johnny Cash, Randy Travis. And then every time I played a little bit of Taylor Swift, people got really excited. I was like, oh, you guys like this. Yeah. And I feel like it mostly just started with me doing cover song gigs and then just adding more Taylor here and there. And eventually I was like, you know what? I think I should do this.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's most of my kind of backstory of just doing music. And I started writing some on my own and just recently released one of my own songs. Working on a bunch of more music too. But actually just this year, January of this year, I quit my full-time job. I was working in wealth management, doing kind of operations, administrative, client-focused type role. And I was able to quit that, and I'm doing music entirely full-time now.
Amazing. That's so good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I think most of our listeners are from the UK, but we do have some American ones as well. We have had a couple of American-based people on the podcast before, but I think first of all, the scene is quite different. Like the function world isn't really quite the same in America, but it's more like cover gigs and wedding bands and things like that. But I believe that the tribute world is quite popular there as well. Is that right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And definitely literally in Dallas.
Yeah.
So tributes are huge here, but of course, kind of all over the country too.
Yeah, I think, well, as in England as well. And I think that comes down to like it just being quite a niche. Like, and when someone wants a certain thing, for example, a Taylor Swift tribute, they're going to find the best one and pick that. Like, so yeah, I think that is why it's so successful. But yeah, Christian music here, it's definitely not a big thing if it is a thing at all. But I know it's huge in America, right? For
sure. Yeah. And so I actually still do. I help at different churches here locally. I'm somewhere almost every Sunday morning, helping out leading worship. And then being Taylor Swift almost the rest of the weekend.
Yeah. So obviously you must be a bit of a fan of Taylor Swift. Like, did it start with that, or did it literally just start with, okay, I think this is what is going to sell better than something else, than say Adele, for example? Sure.
Yeah, like that first album that I listened to, it's almost kind of somewhat embarrassing to say that Midnights, I think it was 2021 when that one came out. It's kind of embarrassing to say that that's when I first started listening to Taylor. But I literally felt like that album was almost like what I needed to like process my life and literally to help me kind of open my mind in a way that I never had before, and kind of thinking for myself. And literally her album helped me do that and helped me realize how to do that. And that kind of then led me to a deeper dive of all of her discography. And I have one friend that is a hardcore Swiftie that had always been, but had never pressured me. And she asked if I wanted to go to the Eras tour, and when Taylor came to Dallas, and she said, "You're one of my only friends that I think would spend a ridiculous amount of money to try to be as close as possible." And I was like, let's do it. And so we actually got to be on the floor, literally the front row, like 10 feet away from her. And at that point, like, I didn't even know all the words to Love Story. Like, I was still very, very much a baby Swiftie. I knew every word of Midnights for sure. And every word to Tolerate It is actually one of my favorites. I don't know. Do you even know all these songs? Are you much of a Swiftie yourself?
Yeah, me. Yeah. I first went to see Taylor Swift back in 2011, so I'm old school.
Cool. Oh, that's awesome. But yeah, being at her tour is really what made this crazy shift in me. Like, I wasn't one of the screaming, crying fans, like, oh my God, she's so close to me. Oh my God. But it really was this like such a respect. And like the entire show is just this display of her hard work and her success and her persevering through a ridiculous amount of trials that she's faced throughout her career. And just showcasing all of it.
Yeah.
And the fact that she's still going, like no one does almost like, you know, all of these, almost like the top hits, best of Taylor Swift kind of tour, and then is also in their prime, and then continues to be like, she really is. She's in charge. Yeah. She's on top of the world right now. And that, I think, just resonated with me more than anything, just more the hard work she's put in the success. And it's like, I just relate with that so much that I can hear that in so many of her songs and her lyrics, that like the type of mind that she has to be able to not only put in the work to write these amazing songs, to put on this amazing show, but she really is doing it for her fans. That it's not just, look at me, look what I'm doing, but what do you guys want? And I think that that's, just ways that I've connected with her music more than even her music, but just with her, with the idea and the perspective that I feel like she's coming from. And then, you know, watching a lot of her documentaries, thinking like, I think we kind of actually think the same. And like, we kind of talk the same a little bit, and just realizing like, I think I'm in love with her, which I know everyone kind of feels that way, about her, but I think it's different with me. But I just, of any other artist, I feel like I've not connected and related to someone on such an extreme level. Like I never thought I would do a tribute band. Never, ever, ever. But the more music that I listened of hers, and the more that I learned about her and stuff she's gone through, and watching like even her like award, whenever she makes a speech, like at award ceremonies, the more that I learned about her and watching documentaries, I realized like I can connect with this more than anything, more than anyone. So yeah, my very first show where I said, I'm just gonna, it was my birthday. It's actually my birthday this week. And so it was 2 years ago. No, it was a year ago. Who am I kidding? It hasn't even been a year. I don't even know. It feels like I've been doing this forever, but it was a year ago.
Yeah, that's wild.
A year ago that I said, I'm not going to do like a variety of cover songs. I'm going to do just Taylor Swift. I'm going to do just what I want. I don't care what anyone says. And it was my first show that I was like, I'm going to do some costume changes too. But I wasn't doing like her costumes. I wasn't kind of making it a tribute band. Just like, I want to do this. And it got a lot of, just a lot of encouragement. And it was actually watching, maybe I shouldn't say this. It was actually from watching another tribute band that was doing Taylor Swift that actually made me decide, I think Taylor deserves quality tribute bands, and I want to do that. I want to be that.
Diplomatically put there. I like it. Yeah, awesome. Love that. Firstly, jealous because the Eras tour is in the UK at the minute, and I don't have tickets. Couldn't get tickets, but yeah, I'm going to try and get something secondhand and spend an absolute fortune on it probably. But yeah, I mean, it also is awesome that you got into it from being a fan, but it is also great from a business point of view as well. Like someone that is at their prime isn't going anywhere anytime soon. It means you can carry this on for a long time, or as long as you want to anyway.
Right. And I think that's what I think that a lot of people sometimes have asked me and thought like, oh, this is just a brilliant business idea. Which I do feel like it is. Like, I've thought through those things, and I could do this. I could probably do this forever. Like, just as big as Michael Jackson is now, and there's Michael Jackson and Elvis impersonators constantly.
Yeah.
But it's like I feel like for myself, I couldn't make the decision to do something kind of as a career and maybe the rest of my life if it wasn't something I was also passionate about. You know, like some people have their career, the thing that makes money, the thing that does well, and then they have their passion. And I am just so thankful that I found a way to combine the two. And so it literally feels like I'm like living this dream where I'm literally having the most fun in my life, and yet it's supporting me and supplying me, and I'm now supplying other people jobs. I have a staff for this, and an assistant and a booking manager, and someone that even just handles my private parties. And I have this team and band leader, and
it's so early on and still in the journey. Like,
yeah. So officially it's been about 10 months now of doing this. And I feel like I just finally, probably when you saw that one kind of recap post I did about a month ago, and I said it'd been 9 months and it feels like I just birthed a baby. That's kind of when I feel like I got to this place of, I know what I'm doing. I know how to do it. And now I want to actually take care of myself.
Yeah.
Again, I feel like I've literally poured everything into this for that last 9 months. So now I'm kind of having a team and having a lot of processes and things in place where I can focus on writing more original music and focus on my health and learning how to sleep and rest my voice.
That's a good place to be though, right?
Yeah.
So let's kind of go from the start then. It started with just you, no one else, you and a guitar, I guess. And then what was kind of the first move because it wasn't even a tribute, you say, it was just playing Taylor Swift songs, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The first move was getting on Amazon and buying a big purple puffy dress for the Speak Now era. That was the very first thing that I did. And I said, okay, I'm doing this. And then I got on like Etsy and I did some commission payments for a couple of my body suits that I wear. And so it was kind of more investing in costumes was the beginning. And so about a month or so of getting costumes together, I started then building tracks. So I wanted to literally do the entire Eras tour, but I was like, how can I condense this? So I did about a 3-hour show. So I did about 30 songs. Yeah. With some transition.
Do you stick to the same sort of set list or?
Yeah. Yes, I definitely go through her era, or when I started, I did. But now with Tortured Poets, it's so hard. It's so hard to choose. So now I kind of, if I take away one era, I'll add at least a song from that era in the acoustic surprise song set.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still try to do it every year. But yeah, I was just buying costumes, building tracks, finding a team, a band, and being a worship leader in Texas. I feel like having that band leader mentality already for churches, it's always volunteers. So I kind of try to prepare as much as I can, chord chart, practice track, the exact arrangement we're doing, and giving them as much resources where anyone could just step in and fill these and fill this role. So at the beginning, we did practice through songs with some kind of core band members, more to kind of get the arrangement and get exactly how I wanted to do things. But kind of after that, and once we started doing shows, we haven't had a single band practice. I try to be able to lay this out. This is what we're doing, and anyone can just step in. So I've been really blessed to be connected with a lot of really high quality professional musicians that want to be a part of this, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, building tracks was kind of the beginning. And I think what really set the tone for, I'm not just kind of doing this, I'm kind of jumping in head first, was that investment in everything up front. Like trying to get every costume, trying to get every song, every era. And then we did the promo music video shoot that I think is probably what you're saying. Probably the best quality video, maybe on my Instagram.
Yeah, the white background.
Yeah. And that was before we ever did a show, an actual show. And that video was actually the first time that I ever danced in public. So growing up super sheltered, even my band members were like, we didn't even know you could move like that. And just from watching Taylor Swift videos and trying to mimic her in my mirror at home. And just from that video, it kind of went viral, like on YouTube, a little bit on Instagram. Just that video alone, people finding it and reaching out. And social media has kind of been the only like marketing that we did. Mm-hmm. I sent a good amount of like EPK emails toward the beginning, to local venues. But really it's just kind of been word of mouth and people Googling Taylor Swift tribute and finding us.
Did you do any sort of SEO work on website or anything for that? Or was that kind of just natural as well? Yeah, making the website and using the footage from that nice video. I feel like that video really is what shaped everything. Yeah. Kind of the bringing it all together. So using like that video as the background for the website. And really at the beginning, I just tried to make it look like I'd been doing this forever. And that was kind of my goal, was no one knows. Yeah, I mean, I'll vouch for that because I didn't know. I saw that video and I was like, these guys have been doing this a while. This looks great. And what's really funny is my very first gig was someone that reached out. No, my first two is the weekend that the Eras Tour film came to theaters. So it was October 13th last year. And the very first people that reached out, they said, hey, we're having this event. We would love to have you there. I don't know if your schedule's already packed or anything. And I'm like, they have no clue. But that was actually a solo show. So I did just Trax and me. And then another venue that was local had reached out saying, hey, we saw that you're playing in Dallas at this date. Since you're in town, we're in Fort Worth, which is just 30 minutes away. We would love to have you the day after, if that can be in your routing for your tour. I had no idea that I live in Dallas. And that was literally my first show ever. Fake it till you make it, right? Yeah. And that one, I moved up every time. The next show was a duo. So I had someone on drums with Trax and then me. And then just kind of grew from that. Had a festival here and there. Our first kind of full 2-hour show is kind of our max, was at a drag bar, which is awesome. So we had like Taylor Swift drag before us and after us, which was really fun. So, I mean, without skipping to the end too much, did you know that you wanted this to be big from the start, and you knew that it was going to be a lot of investment, or was it kind of just step by step? I feel like it was more step by step. Like, I knew that I wanted to be done well, and I was pretty sure, I was like, I'm sure we could tour around, but I think we can kind of get enough business even just here in Dallas. Like if
if this can just support me being able to quit my job and kind of get my life back to be in control of my own time and schedule, I'm fine with that, even if it's a small scale, but I just want to do it well. I think that was my main thing was this has to be excellent. It has to be quality. And just once we started getting a little more traction, I think just realizing, I think this is bigger than I think. And even band members telling me like, you need to set your standards really, really high. But I still love, I love that it's always been, I don't know, homegrown.
Yeah.
Like there were moments when we were getting a lot of like a huge influx of requests for bookings that I was getting so overwhelmed. I'm like, I need an agent. I need someone to handle this for me. But it's like, do I really want to give away like 15, 20% of everything I make because I'm overwhelmed right now? So I had a few of my band members just really encourage me, like, this is what it takes. You can do this. You got to push through, but you have people like you can pay to help you. So I've had just a team that's my team. It's not, I'm working for someone, which I'm just really thankful for. That it's stayed in house.
Yeah. So does that sort of come in a way as like an assistant to like just handle inquiries and stuff like that and reply to things?
Yes. My assistant is literally my world. She's everything. And so she's kind of doing a lot of, almost every email intake, communicating with, band members, handling payroll. She helps with costumes, just kind of prepping for every show. And then I now have someone that just handles booking. And so every request that we get, she takes it. And so I'm still paying a commission, a percentage, but it's not, 20% of this. And then doing commission and a salary there. And then also having someone that all they do is private parties. So I do a ton of Taylor Swift themed birthday parties. So just going to 6-year-old's house and just dancing with a bunch of little kindergartners.
Yeah.
I love it. But yeah, kind of having that team, but then I'll have, I have someone local that also, one of my friends that is a seamstress. So she helps with, costumes and everything. And, I have a couple people that I've had help, with backing tracks and just making them sound a lot better than I can make them sound on my own. I have an attorney that's helped draft contracts and stuff, make my contracts for venues a lot better, contracts for contractors, band members, and people. So kind of learning, because I'm definitely someone that I want to do everything by myself. And so I think I did almost kill myself doing this. And then once I learned, like, oh no, I literally can't. I've reached my capacity, and now I need a real team. And so I'm so glad I have that now.
Yeah. So how many gigs are we talking a week at like the peak of before you start to sort of take your life back a bit?
I'd say at least 3, but maybe more. So maybe like I'd say maybe 4. About 2 like shows, performances, whether that's solo, kind of doing the whole thing, 90 minutes to 2 hours, or with the band. And then about 2, we call them parties, private parties for birthday parties. Probably 2 of those a week. And that doesn't sound like it because I'm still doing about the same, but when I'm also doing everything for it, like literally every second.
Yeah.
Is preparing for these. And I finally eventually, decided I started using Ableton at the beginning, which most people use. But I just realized if I'm really wanting to make, and a lot of shows are different, whether maybe there's certain requests or time length, different things. I really wanted it to be super easy for me to just program a completely new set list, add new transitions, all of that. So I actually use Loop Community's Prime app instead of Ableton, which will literally just, and it's a church blend. It's all my church background pays off a lot. But making it where literally on the way to a gig, I'm sitting in my car and I can just program an entire show right there. I don't need my computer. I don't need all my software. So I've figured out different ways in that time of me killing myself, overworking myself. How can I make this easier for me? And make it where everyone's showing up. It's super easy for them too. So a lot of systems being ironed out.
Yeah. Do you have the same band always, or do you use a lot of different musicians and depths and stuff like that?
It's somewhat consistent, but I really try to have about 3 musicians deep for each instrument.
Right.
Mostly for schedules, just to make sure it works. Especially if somebody gets sick last minute. And then lately I've been trying to kind of get a base of musicians around the country too, that maybe when I'm in New York, I can pull from there. When I'm in LA, I can pull from there. In Nashville, pull from there. But for the most part, I'd love to kind of bring more of my core people from Dallas, wherever we go.
Yeah. How often are you outside of Texas now?
Yeah. As of this month is kind of reaching the end of a lot of local opportunities where pretty much large opportunities that have been outside of the state and outside of the country plan a lot more in advance. And so these have been booked for a while, but in the last, like this year, I think April, we had a ton of out of town gigs. We were in North Carolina, we were in South Carolina, we were in Arkansas. And then we got to go to Japan.
Whoa.
We got to play for a U.S. Army base there in Okinawa, just outside of Tokyo. And that really was, that was kind of the beginning of when we were asked to do that. That gig came from them just finding our YouTube video of the promo that you found. And that was really the beginning. They said, they're like, do you have dancers? I was like, yes, I do. And so I got dancers. And so, yeah, I have a dance captain now that she created a whole team of about 6 or 7 dancers to pull from for shows that I'm able to provide dancers for. So yeah, getting to take my full team from Dallas to Japan was insane.
Yeah. How many people was that?
I think it was 8. Yeah, so drums, bass, keys, electric, me, dancer, and then I always have a stage manager backstage to help me do costume changes. Yeah. They are just as important as any member on the stage. Is that 8? I think it's 8. So yeah, 8 people.
Wild.
And we actually just booked for 4th of July. We're actually playing at a U.S. Army base in Kuwait over in the Middle East.
Yeah, amazing.
So we're gearing up for that and get to take a whole team over there too.
Yeah, amazing. So
it's been really cool.
I guess I want to dive into maybe what are some of the struggles that have been along the way and some of the hardest things you've had to overcome to get it to this stage. And maybe what's kind of next for it as well. Yeah,
I feel like struggles mostly have been just figuring out how to do this on, like trying to do this in a small scale, but make it look big scale. So like I have this like LED acrylic stage that when I found this online, I was like, that literally looks like the Eras Tour like platform that she rises up on. And I'm like, oh my God, I need it. And so I kind of feel like one of the hardest things has been making the decisions of what is going to pay off and what is not. And I think the biggest thing I've learned is anything that I am thinking is probably a good idea, it is a good idea. Like I've been learning how to trust myself and trust these instincts. And so that stage, I literally feel like it just sets apart and it makes what we're doing look so much more similar to the Eras Tour. It makes people feel like they're really there.
Yeah.
And then I use that also for private parties. It's like an 8x8, but I'll use it in like smaller 4x4s. When, you know, people commenting on videos saying like, I literally was about to ask like, how did you get this close to Taylor? And like people really believing like this is the Eras Tour, which I know it's not. I know it's not. And I get a lot of those comments too. Like, you know, you're not Taylor. Like, yes, I know, but I love her. And I want everyone to be able to have the same experience that I had. So if I can somewhat create that for people, I love it. But yeah, I'd say just making big investment decisions has been really hard because I'm just doing it on my own. I'm gonna take out a loan. And was that kind of your question?
Yeah, for sure.
Struggles.
So, I mean, what has been the biggest investment into the business?
I think just costumes. I think.
Yeah.
And with the Tortured Poets department,
yeah,
Taylor decides to put on a whole musical for one song. For I Can Do It With a Broken Heart, that song alone, for paying for someone, because there weren't backing tracks available where I could kind of pull stems from online and kind of build from there. So paying a producer to create that whole song, finding 2 different costumes, the one she wears for that, and then for Tortured Poets, more like Who's Afraid of Little Ol' Me. The canes for dancers, the big feather fans, those are so expensive. And just every outfit. That song alone, I think my investment is about $4,000. Like one song.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sure that'll pay off, but really like, this is my hobby. This is my passion. Some people might put a lot of money into golfing, and I put it into Taylor Swift costumes.
Well, this is a business as well. This can give you the money back. Like, did you decide to do Tortured Poets straight away when that came out, or did you? Well, I was sure you had to leave it a little bit to learn all the songs. But.
Well, where was her first show? Where her very first one? I was live streaming it. It was like the middle of the day here.
It'd been in Europe, I think.
Yeah, it was in Europe. Literally, as I'm watching it live, I'm on Amazon. I'm texting my seamstress saying, okay, how do we do this? And it was actually really hard. Like, I don't know how Taylor does it, but she finds, like, you'd think kind of her costumes, they seem like you could probably find something similar in a store. She just finds the things that are so difficult. So everything for Tortured Poets is all completely custom made, which is great. So I just gave a deadline. Okay, 2 weeks. We're going to perform an entire Tortured Poets set. And literally my seamstress was finishing a costume like an hour before the show. Like I was trying it on for the first time right before the show. And I'd finished the tracks like the night before. And my band is amazing and was willing to do it. And it's awesome. Like the fact that we're able to kind of put that out into the world as soon as we did. It was more so because I'm like, I love it so much. I want to do it, but it's also like, I want to be the first. I want to be the first that does it and does it well.
Yeah. I mean, back to the investment as well. Like I have seen some of the costumes and they do look amazing. And I have seen some cheap ones out there as well. The ones that don't look so good. So I think it is worth the investment. And, I mean, it's obviously working.
I also love I'm connected with a lot of the different Taylor Swift tribute bands around the country, a lot over in England too. And they'll message me, and I just love, you know, if they're asking questions for me, and I'm like, like to feel like, to not only like, I want to figure this out for myself, but then to get to help other people figure it out for them too it's so rewarding. But also just to encourage them, and they're encouraging me. So I love even within the Taylor Swift tribute act, artists, people, I feel like there's a community of itself, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's great. So, what is kind of next for the show? Or are you just sort of, are you where you want to be, or is there a next step?
I feel like in a way, I'm where I want to be. But I think there's always ways to make it better. I think I'd love to, I don't know, partner with more production companies that aren't just, they're hired for this event, we happen to be there, but kind of working together to really make these shows awesome, where they know every cue, they know exactly what certain parts need to stand out. I feel like just kind of, I'd love to go a lot of places I've never been before.
Yeah.
So we have a good amount of U.S. dates booked. We're going to Utah the beginning of August. We're going to Queens, New York, August. Going to Illinois. We're going to Arkansas, Scranton, Pennsylvania. And then we've got Kuwait. That's July, actually. Alabama, another Arkansas. A lot of Arkansas Swifties. Got some California in the works, some Colorado. And then we just got asked to do a tour in New Zealand, which is wild.
Yeah.
Oh, and Canada. And so I'm kind of open to wherever this takes me. If this wants to
and just enjoy it.
Make a million vacations in one. It's really exciting. And then just kind of on my end, I feel like, going everywhere, it's obviously still going to be, a lot of time and a lot of investment still. But I'm really, kind of carving out a lot of my week of focusing on writing and doing, my own original music. So I'm, actually just recorded a couple songs, this last week as a surprise for my dad, his Father's Day songs. My dad's a, amazing songwriter. And trying to crank out as much as I can and write as much as I can, and working with other songwriters and producers to kind of, as Lover, Taylor Swift tribute grows, knowing that kind of behind that, people come to see Taylor Swift and they love the Eras Tour, they love her music, but I'm hoping that then in that they kind of see me there and they want to know more about Charity Eden too.
Yeah. What kind of influences are in that? Is that influenced by Taylor as well, or completely different? Or
definitely influenced by Taylor. I'd say I'm still in the pop vein, but I'm kind of really open, and I feel like I don't want to trap myself in saying this is the style. So I kind of want to do whatever I want and whatever sounds good and whatever a producer thinks you should go this direction. So yeah, I'm really open, but it'll be maybe similar, but definitely not going to try to sound like Taylor. Because I know when I sing, I kind of generally will sound like her, but I know I do certain things that will more mimic her voice. So just trying to really figure out how to make it no, this is my voice. It's different. You can distinguish it.
Yeah, I bet that's quite hard if you're doing it so much, it sort of just becomes ingrained in you, right? So do you have to think harder to not be like Taylor? Right,
but it's funny because a lot of the things Taylor does, the way she'll sing certain things, the way she moves, because I'm not a dancer, she's also not really a dancer. It kind of just works out. We have the same awkwardness, we have the same little quirks, and that the way we know how to dance is we can just be a little sexy and it just works. So I feel like a lot of the things that I would probably naturally do are the things she would do. So in a way, I feel like it is similar. And maybe my music will probably be similar, but I know that there's, I think I add a lot more, she sings really straight tone, not a lot of vibrato, not a lot of kind of soul emotion in her tone, but her range is insane. I don't have an insane range. I do change keys to a lot of her songs to make them where I can actually see them. But I think just my general tone is a lot different. So when I stick to that, and kind of writing songs for my voice, I think that's what'll be the most different.
Awesome. So is there anything else about the process of creating this show that we haven't talked about, or I haven't asked you, that you'd like to go through?
I think just one thing that I always love to make really clear, like with our shows, and even somehow, people that see me on social media online, is that I hope that this always comes across in what I do and when I perform, is that there really is such an appreciation for Taylor. And I really want what I'm doing to be a tribute to her, to be in honor of her and celebrating her, that I'm never trying to take away from her. Like, oh, you could go to the Eras Tour, or you could go to my tour. Like, no, the Eras Tour, go to the Eras Tour if you can. But literally what I'm trying to do is just give that opportunity for people that maybe would never be able to, or would love to go a million times and they can't. That a lot of my shows are free, or almost free, or less than like $40 a ticket. Where literally my hope is for people to have just a little bit of a taste of that same magic, the same glimmer, the same just like atmosphere that every show that she does, and everything that just her music creates, this space where you get to come as you are, you get to be yourself. And whether that's with heartbreak, and whether that's in depression, whether that's in joy, whether that's in whatever you're celebrating, you get to be yourself. And literally you walk into the Eras Tour and every single person there is your best friend. There's not this judging of, oh, what is she wearing? Oh, I like my outfit better. Like, it's literally, this is the kind of culture that she's created. And that's what I try to create too. And so, which I love to see kind of in social media of understanding that. But I think that it always gets lost of me maybe trying to take from her. And I never want it to seem that way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone would take it that way, but it's an amazing story. It's amazing to hear you're doing so well with it as well. It's such a cool story. But yeah, let's move on to the last section of the show, which is your best gigs and your worst gigs. And this is just a time to tell some cool stories or anything funny that has happened at a gig. And this doesn't have to be your tribute stuff. It's going to be your own stuff if you wanted as well. But yeah, any cool stories that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I'd say the worst gig is a gig where, typically a lot of our shows are a lot of tweens, a lot of young girls, or maybe millennials, women that kind of grew up with Taylor's music. And you got some dads sprinkled in here and there. But I do feel like the show is for everyone. But one specific show is our first Arkansas show. It was a corporate event that the woman who was in charge of this event is a huge Swiftie and decided we need a Taylor Swift tribute band. So I get out there and it's literally, I'd say 90% men, suit and tie. I think the mayor was there. Not a single child. And you kind of want to be in places where people want you. And it did not feel like we were wanted at all. Literally just blank stares almost the entire beginning. And I even remember thinking like, why am I doing that? It was early on. It was maybe 3 months in. It's like, why am I doing this? And something has clicked in me of like, all right, every gig maybe has been easy and maybe other gigs will be easy from this because you play Taylor's music and people go crazy, but not in this environment. And so I feel like I had to flip a switch of I'm going to win these people over. So I literally wanted to just like cut songs and like, I don't want to do this. Like, they don't want this. Like, why are we here? But I was like, no, I'm going to win them over. And so I did as much as I could. I interacted with them. I got out in the crowd, made sure they were drinking alcohol. And by the end of the show, literally there was almost like this mosh pit dance circle and everyone was into it. And it's like, it's crazy how like the worst gig can then turn into the best gig. Like the satisfaction of we turned this around. And then learning like I can kind of do that. And I kind of do that a lot with like little kid parties, is when they're just standing there and the parents are like, they're just starstruck. I'm like, no, they realized I'm not Taylor Swift and they're very sad. But yeah, being able to kind of shift the atmosphere of a crowd is always so fulfilling. But definitely love the environments where everyone there knew what was happening and wanted to be there.
Amazing. And the best at the same time?
Yeah, I'd say the worst and the best. I think just hands down, it has to be performing in Japan.
Yeah.
For the troops there, it really was incredible. There's like 20,000 people there, where like I got so many messages from that before and after, leading up to and after, just saying like, we never would have the opportunity to go to the Eras tour, and you literally brought it for us. And it was also like a community event too. Like people and even the families, they were able to bring their kids. So there was a good mix of the military men and women with their families and other people in the community too. So yeah, like 20,000 people there getting to do the Eras tour for them was insane.
Wild.
Yeah. So that was definitely the best.
Amazing. This, again, amazing story. Absolutely loved hearing about it all. So if people wanted to find out more about you or connect with you in any way, or where would you like to send them?
Yeah, I'm mostly an Instagram girl, Lover Taylor Tribute. And then my personal is Charity Eden Music. But then if you don't do social media, you can find us lovertaylortribute.com. And then TikTok is lover.trib. I'm on there every now and then too. But yeah, that's the best way.
Awesome. I will include all of those in the episode description. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on and having a chat. It's been an absolute blast.
For sure. Thank you.
So there we go. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. And again, I just wanted to say a big thanks to Charity for coming on and sharing her amazing story with us. So I just quickly wanted to mention that I am always on the hunt for new guests. So if you have an amazing story that you'd like to share, or a particular topic that you think this audience would find interesting, or if you just know of someone that you think would be a great guest, then please get in touch. You can do that by emailing me at podcast@thefulltimefunctionmusicianpodcast.co.uk, or message me on Instagram, which is probably easier because of that insanely long email address, In Focus Recording Co. You'll find it in the episode description. But anyways, that's it from me. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next week for episode 27.